Friends, today is December 10, 2025, and the entire world is glued to one breaking story. Donald Trump has openly declared that Ukraine is losing the war against Russia and must immediately accept the American peace proposal, or things will get much worse very fast. He said these exact words in a Politico interview that dropped just hours ago, and BBC instantly made it their top headline. In this video, we are going to break everything down step by step, what is actually written inside the US peace plan, why Zelensky is refusing to sign, what Putin really wants, how Europe is reacting, what happens if Ukraine says no, and most importantly, how all of this is going to affect India and the global economy in 2026. Let's dive straight in. First, let's hear Trump's exact words so there is no confusion. Speaking to Politico from the White House, President Trump said, quote, "Ukraine is losing this war badly. Russia has the upper hand and they always did. President Zelensky has to start accepting our proposals because if he doesn't, Ukraine is going to lose a lot more territory in a very short period of time." He added that Russia is willing to make a deal, but Ukraine is stalling and showing zero gratitude for American help. Trump even mocked Zelensky by saying he hasn't even read the full plan yet. This is the toughest public language Trump has used against Zelensky since taking office in January 2025. So what is inside this mysterious 28-point peace plan that America wants Ukraine to sign right now? The document was leaked in late November and contains 5 major demands that are non-negotiable from the US side. Point 1. Ukraine must permanently give up claim to Crimea and accept Russian control over the parts of Donetsk and Luhansk that Russia already occupies since 2014. In simple words, 4 regions of Ukraine will officially become part of Russia on paper. Point 2. Ukraine cannot join NATO for at least 30 years and its army size will be capped at 250,000 active soldiers forever. Right now, Ukraine has over 800,000 mobilized troops, so this means massive demobilization. Point 3. Ukraine has to remain neutral and cannot host foreign military bases or missiles. Point 4. All economic sanctions on Russia will be lifted within 90 days of signing, including the release of roughly $300 billion of frozen Russian central bank assets. Point 5. Europe, not America, will pay for you. Ukraine's reconstruction estimated cost more than $500 billion over the next decade, while the US wants to keep half of the frozen Russian money as repayment for weapons already sent. In return, the US promises ironclad security guarantees similar to NATO Article 5, meaning if Russia attacks again, America and Europe will defend what is left of Ukraine. Trump calls this the deal of the century and says it will stop the bloodshed immediately. Now let's look at the ground reality. Is Ukraine really losing as badly as Trump claims? The answer is yes and no. Russia currently controls about 19-20% of Ukrainian territory, almost the same as 1 year ago. Russian troops are advancing, moving forward slowly in Donbas, sometimes only 100-200 meters per day, but they are moving. Ukraine is facing severe manpower shortage. Desertion cases have crossed 100,000 this year, and new mobilization laws are extremely unpopular. Ammunition and air defense missiles are running low because U.S. Congress has not approved a new aid package since March 2025. On paper, Trump is not completely wrong when he says Ukraine cannot win a long war of attrition. But Ukrainian soldiers and President Zelensky keep insisting they can hold the line if the West provides F-16 jets, long-range ATACMS missiles, and lifts all restrictions on striking inside Russia. That help is not coming under the current U.S. administration. What is President Zelensky's response? Yesterday, after meeting the leaders of UK, France, Germany, and Italy in London, Zelensky said very clearly, "We will never accept ultimatums that reward the aggressor. Giving away our land is illegal under Ukrainian constitution and international law." He announced that Ukraine is preparing its own 19-point counter proposal that includes full Russian withdrawal to 1991, borders, war, crime trials, and reparations paid by Moscow. Zelensky also said he is ready to hold direct talks with Putin, but only if European troops are part of the peacekeeping force after the war ends. In short, the two sides are still miles apart. Europe is extremely nervous right now. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer called the American plan fundamentally wrong because it freezes the conflict instead of ending it. French President Macron warned that accepting Russian land grabs will only encourage Putin to attack again in 5 or 10 years. New German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said Europe is ready to increase its own weapons production and send more Leopard tanks, but they cannot replace American support. Behind closed doors, several European diplomats are saying Trump is basically forcing Ukraine to sign a modern-day Munich Agreement 2.0. Russia's position is simple: Putin loves this plan. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said yesterday, the American document can serve as a basis for negotiations, which is the most positive statement Moscow has made in years. Putin believes time is on his side. The longer the war continues, the more pressure builds on Zelensky from inside and outside. What happens if Ukraine refuses to sign? Trump has already hinted he will cut off all remaining U.S. military aid. His son Don Jr. said publicly last week, if they don't want peace, maybe we just walk away. Without American weapons and intelligence, most military experts agree Ukraine would lose Kharkiv or even Odessa within months. On the flip side, if Ukraine signs the deal, Zelensky risks being called a traitor at home and possibly triggering massive protests or even a military coup. Now the big question everyone in India is asking: how does this affect us? 3 direct impacts are already visible. First, global oil and food prices. If peace comes quickly and sanctions are lifted, Russian oil will flood the market again and crude could drop below $60 per barrel. That would be huge relief for India's import bill and inflation. Second, defense exports. Ukraine was one of the largest buyer of Indian ammunition and spares in 2023-2024. If the war ends, that multi-billion-dollar business disappears overnight. Third, and most important, the message it sends to China about Taiwan. If the West forces Ukraine to surrender territory to stop a war, Beijing will take note that military aggression sometimes pays off. That raises the risk level in the Indo-Pacific, which directly concerns India's security. Where do things stand as of today, December 10, 2025? U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is flying to Kyiv tomorrow for emergency talks. Zelensky has invited Trump for a face meeting anywhere, anytime. Trump replied on Truth Social this morning, "Let's do it before Christmas, but no more games." Multiple sources say the absolute final deadline is now December 25. If no signature by then, U.S. aid pipelines will start shutting down from January 1. So is this the end of the war in Ukraine? Maybe. Thousands of lives could be saved if a deal is signed, but the price is permanent division of a sovereign country and a dangerous precedent for the rest of the world. Only time will tell whether Zelensky bends or stands firm. That's the complete, unbiased picture as of right now. Let me know in the comments, do you think Ukraine should accept Trump's deal to stop the bloodshed or keep fighting for every inch of land? Like this video if you want daily updates on this situation. Subscribe and hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay informed.